Welcome again to the Talking Tavern. Today I'm joined by Frances. Frances works as a librarian in a school in the Orkney Islands in northern Scotland. She organises and runs Dungeons and Dragons for a group within the school. She introduces young people to the hobby and providing a fun environment and a little escapism from a typical school day. She is a keen world builder and writes a detailed blog on her world of Ravanna. She's also a fan of wildlife, animals and scenic Scottish countryside, and regularly posts beautiful photographs of this on her Twitter account. Frances, welcome to the show.
Hello there, thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm not too bad at the moment.
Okay, well, it's a question that I ask all the time, but it's a good one. So, what is your background with role-playing games and fantasy in general, and how did you get into it? What were your influences, books, movies, growing up, that sort of thing that made you a fan of the genre?
Well, had never heard of Dungeons and Dragons until just after I left university when I was invited to join a game, which I hadn't a clue what was going on. It was whatever edition preceded 3rd edition, in some student dig somewhere in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
And as I say, I hadn't a clue what was going on, but must have thoroughly enjoyed it because I went home and dreamt absolutely every detail of that particular session, however long it was, and then promptly forgot about it and moved up to Orkney where I started the job here. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until 9 or 10 years into my job that it came back. Dungeons and Dragons came back to, I'm not going to say haunt me, but kind of going, okay, this is interesting. This is when pupils actually asked me, could we play Dungeons and Dragons in the library for activities? And I went, yes, I've played that before.
Oh, right. So it was their suggestion, but obviously the seed had been planted in you, so...
Yeah. And I haven't actually looked back since, at the end of the day. But I've always been a bit of a big fantasy fan anyway. Mm-hmm. Going way back to when Granny used to read me Narnia and The Hobbit. Can't remember what else. I was an avid reader. I'd probably just read everything that was in the house. Didn't pick up Lord of the Rings until late teenager, even possibly even uni, and then was completely and utterly hooked. Went through Eddings, Pratchett, Stephen Donaldson, Stephen Lawhead,
right,
and all those, and never. That was at the time that I hadn't really heard of Dungeons and Dragons except for the 1980s cartoon. There's an age giveaway.
Yeah, I used to watch that very, very fondly.
And just, as I say, developed into it, carried on reading, wrote a bit, and then the pupils kind of landed it on me, and I've not looked back since.
Brilliant. So, when you've been a player, what kind of characters or classes, races do you kind of gravitate towards?
Can I be very boring?
Oh, yeah, no problem whatsoever.
Usually a half-elf ranger, usually the same one in a different incarnations. She's now been in 3rd, 3.5, 4th and 5th edition. So it's usually a half-elf ranger. Yeah, Ashan's my first ever character, but she's never made it above level 7.
And is the ranger a sort of affinity towards nature that you have anyway?
Nature, animals, and the fact that I like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
And I used to do archery as well. I ran the archery club, ran the archery club at Robert Gordon's in Aberdeen when I was a student. So, and I kind of had a little penchant for a very elven-looking young man when I was a teenager who is into archery, which is what got me there.
Yeah. And then you could fire arrows at people, but in a virtual way.
In a virtual world, yeah.
Which is
safe. I didn't discover the virtual world until somewhat later, though. I did a Dampier once, half vampire,
okay,
which we kind of podged together in 4th edition. That again was the young man that had left school by that point, but still running adventures, and we did Rescue at Rivenrow. She was interesting. She didn't know she was a half vampire. And I can remember that we left it off before we went to uni when she was starting to bite her companions.
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it?
And having complete fear of crossing water and things like that. And half the party wanted to kill her, and there were a couple of them were trying to protect her. And that was it. I tend to go back to Rangers, although I'm not happy with the 5th edition Ranger yet. But
well, they did those an Arcana alternative
Yeah.
Did you think that was better, or?
I did
Yeah.
like it. I think if I run another home game, I will let them play that, or I'll play if they let me play it. Games I've played in outside of school recently have been probably a lot more combat heavy.
Yeah.
Not much dice rolling out with combat, and I'd like to do more role play.
How did you get the idea to set up the role-playing club in the first place for the children?
Well, yeah, it was those pupils way back when. I can't remember quite what happened. We have a system at school of activities, and it's been running, as I've discovered, since around about the early 1970s at the school. And we do a Friday afternoon activities, and I've done things like Christmas decorations, and I did stable management sometime in the 90s with them. And then there's some kids that are coming to the library regularly. They actually started playing Magic the Gathering. And that, whew, straight over the top of my head. I've learned to play now, by the way.
Right. I've never played it. Basically.
I don't understand it, but I play it.
Yeah.
There's a club in Kirkwall which I've never been to. I think they call it the Wargaming Club.
Mm-hmm.
I think it meets on a Thursday night. I'm probably too embarrassed to go, actually. And they said, we're playing D&D on a Thursday. Could we play D&D in the school? I went, yes. And I think we must have started it on a Tuesday after school, because we had an afternoon school session as well on a Tuesday, activities where the kids, 2/3 of our kids are bussed in, so there was transport home put on for them. So we started that up, and that's when the pupil DM'd a game, and then I wrote my adventure and all that. And then Friday afternoon activities, I said, right, I'll run they basically want as many staff as possible. You're ranging things from sports, football, volleyball, whatever, movie appreciation, photography, bit of study, although they don't encourage that, history model making and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think they did a bit of, those boys did a bit of Warhammer as well. And I went, yeah, go ahead, go for it. And that's basically happened. I set up the activity, and the rest is history. We've been playing, I think it's 2001 or 2002 we started playing, so a long time ago now.
Well, I guess that managed to sail along with the release of the Lord of the Rings films as well, which would have been...
Actually, it's possible, but I would never have made the connection.
Yeah.
Anyway, I adore those films.
Yeah, me too. And so it sounds like the school was fully supportive and encouraged it, if anything.
They just wanted people to have activities, and I don't think, you know how there was all these scares about D&D.
Yeah, the demonic rituals.
Especially in the 80s. Possibly not in the UK. I've not done enough research to see if it happened in the UK or not.
Yeah, I just don't think it was as popular over here, maybe, and it didn't get that big.
But they weren't bothered. I don't actually think they knew what the heck it was, to be honest, at the end of the day. Now, I've just had to remember, we also had the Fighting Fantasy, Jackson and Livingston Fighting Fantasy books in the library, Choose Your Own Adventures, which I actually probably was reading in the 90s when I found them on the shelves, because technically fantasy, and I really enjoyed them.
They were brilliant.
So the seeds were all there.
Yeah.
It just needed me to go yes, and then it kind of exploded.
And I wonder if you hadn't played that one game at uni, whether or not you would have...
I don't know. Probably not, actually.
Yeah.
Probably not, because although I have very vague memories of that uni game, it's kind of...
It left
but I really enjoyed it. It's kind of, as you say, it's almost like it's in the psyche. So a possession, if you want to go for a D&D term, a nice possession or something like that.
How many children are currently playing in the games?
Right.
How does that work?
When I was running Tarlant, I was actually running with 7 or 8 pupils in the group with me DMing.
Yeah.
And 30.5 worked really well. Combat was quick and everything. Mm-hmm. And we kind of regularly had kind of 5 or 6 pupils over the year. So basically one group running.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I would DM, sometimes the pupil that asked to introduce it DM'd. And then more folk joined, others left. And in August last year, our new round of activities, I had 10 Magic the Gathering players and 15 to 20 or so D&D players.
Okay.
And it just about fell over backwards when I saw the lists. And I thought, this is not going to happen.
Yeah. Good and bad, I guess, isn't it?
I've got I have a pupil that runs a 3.5? Yeah, 3.5 edition group, or they play the Ravenloft game that she brings in. I had another young man who was quite new to D&D, but I think has done a lot outside of school because his brother was one of my earlier D&D players. He runs his own kind of D20 modern / type game / D&D game, kind of his own inventions. I ran the beginner's game, and then of course because we had so many, managed to rope in another more experienced player that took on the beginners with fun. Actually, it was October when I increased in numbers. It was when even more people came. It was 4 groups of playing D&D, 1 group playing Magic. It was ridiculously amazing, and I would come out of school going, yeah! And I would come out of going to school going, I hated that. I don't have the time to do this. The frustration of time is something, I don't know, you just can't, 40 minutes, 45 minutes is hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. But...
And I just don't know how to get over it. However, latterly, this last wee while, it's been a lot better. Because I think I've just kept them moving. I've taken leaf out of folks that I've watched online.
Yeah.
And said, right, okay, and you've moved on. You are now at the Raiders camp or wherever.
Yeah.
Instead of getting them to make every single choice.
Yeah, that can be hard sometimes, can't it? Even with adult players, like getting blood out of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and we had primary 7s in visiting 2 or 3 weeks ago, and 3 of them joined in our lunchtime D&D shorts, as I call it. So not only are we playing on a Tuesday, we're playing on a Thursday lunchtime. Because we've recently changed timetable and gone to a single instead of a split lunch, so I have about 30 minutes. Woo! And so 3 primary 7s joined us, and I think they're very keen to join me after the holidays.
Brilliant.
But
more work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're not going to make their own characters. I think the first term I kind of just give them characters, and then because we don't have the time to sit and character build, they basically, well, what do you want to play? This is what you can play. Okay, right, there you go.
Yeah. Are there any more members of staff who would be interested in helping? No. But...
I have a wonderful colleague who comes in and helps support for supervision purposes, because when you've got 23 people across a split level library, it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
But I'd love, maybe I should put the call out, anyone want to come and learn D&D? But I don't think there's anybody else on staff that actually even know about the game.
Yeah. They've probably seen how much work you're putting into it and think, no.
Yeah. I mean, that's where the modules actually have been really great, as much as I don't feel I can add, well, actually I'm getting better at it. Modules, they're there.
Yeah.
My Thursday lunchtime is quite vicious because I'm doing the D&D Next playtest Minds of Madness.
Okay, yeah.
And to be brutally honest, I'm not prepping, I'm just opening it up and going, right, and then every so often the kids hear it, rather evil laughter. It's actually quite good fun. I think not always, sometimes it's on purpose, because I'm seeing things, I went, oh, and they go, don't do that!
Yeah. Do you have a particular DMing style, and what kind of balance of the 3 tiers of D&D are combat, role-playing and exploration? What's your kind of balance in your games?
My games are usually about 45 minutes long at school, so to be honest, the kids prefer combat. I want more role-playing and exploration in it, but it's very difficult. I'm trying to build more role-playing, and once they've learnt the combat, I kind of build in much more role-playing in the games outside of school. So when I ran Journey Through the Ravana adventure, Journey Through the Wilderlands, bearing in mind this is actually not even in Ravana, it's actually getting to Ravana. It took weeks, months. I like trying to persuade the kids to explore, but again, because they're some of them are only young as 11 or 12.
Right, okay.
You kind of have to direct them a little bit.
That's understandable.
And I don't like it being too linear, but when they don't understand the game, it's better to actually direct them, or at least say, do you want to go and take a short rest? Do you want to carry on and attack the Raiders camp?
Yeah.
Do you want to sneak in quietly?
It's like a multiple choice, choose your own adventure type thing.
So in terms of the school stuff, combat is the priority, role-playing is second, and exploration, well, we don't have time for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Did Horde. So they were in Greenest, and the next thing they knew, they were heading out to the raiders' camp. They said, "But we were in Greenest." I went, "No, you've moved on now." And they go, "Oh," because we don't have time.
Advance the scene.
Yeah, and I think just taking leads from Acquisitions Incorporated, and because he's only in a short time, and the Dice Camera Action.
Yeah.
Chris Perkins, he actually leads it on, and maybe I'm giving too much choice in my games, whether it's to the youngsters or to when I'm playing with my friends as well.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can just let it go, and that's when it drifts and people get bored.
Yes.
In terms of DMing the pupils, I don't like them being murder hobos.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't particularly like that sort of style of play.
No, and I think it's very good that you're kind of the grassroots, 11s to 12, to try and stamp that out so that it doesn't then continue on into as they go out to all these games
keep
in the world.
wanting to kill each other. I went, no, you're in my game now. It's a difficult one to get that balance right, because again kind of getting them to get to know the rules, do a little bit of role playing, and some of them are getting good at it. Some of the 12-year-olds now.